Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we'll start with the approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to read through the minutes from February 6th?
Yes. I'll move.
Okay, John moved, okay. Neil second, any discussion?
Copious, good notes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's the end of that, okay. Next is Randy with Highway and Buildings.
Hold on one second, I lost something. There we go. So I'll start out with buildings. We got the flag light working after a few, there's more things corroded than we thought. But we ended up replacing not only the socket and the light sensor that was corroded also. So it is what it is, and the flag is lit now.
Good.
So the next thing is not so happy. While we had a bunch of committee meetings with the buildings and the highway department, highway committee, the boiler in the wash bay, well, just outside the wash bay, has sprung a few leaks, not just one, but a couple leaks in different areas of the boiler. So we hired our repair people to come up and take a look at it, and they figure by the time we tear it out, bring it to their shop, fix it with all the new gaskets and seals for the whole thing, bring it back, put it in, it would be almost as expensive as replacing it, and then you have a 10-year-old boiler sitting there that is actually 11 years old. It was put in 2012.
Okay, 11 years.
It would be much more advantageous for us to replace the boiler than it's just take one out, put one in. I have a quote I just received about an hour ago from them of $5,520 to do so. That's above my $2,500 spending area. So I'm asking the board to allow me to purchase that or make a resolution to purchase that and go ahead with that. We really don't want to lose the heat in the boiler room because it has water in the floors. That's radiant floor heat.
Okay,
It's not like we can just let it go cold.
What code?
okay, Don,
Where was
I'll
that?
make a motion for discussion.
Thank you.
Second.
okay, discussion.
I will just weigh in. We had a pretty lengthy meeting on this with Randy last week in buildings. I was surprised too that it was 11 years old, but it was a project that Betsy and I both worked on in a former life. I will confess that we probably sort of under spent on this this boiler. It was a new paradigm for us to have something where an outdoor storage building would have a heated room, et cetera, et cetera. And we were very much more inclined about the structure, the floor, the radiant in the floor. This was a probably below medium priced boiler. Probably 10 or 12 years was its life expectancy. But since we found this particular vendor, rather than who we were calling for, seemed like all the time before that, this fellow has gained our trust, and this is a much better unit. One that patching this thing just didn't seem like, for these dollars, did not seem like chasing this any further was a wise choice.
Randy, what's the name of the company?
RBM.
RPM?
RBM.
RBM. Oh, that's the van that was sitting out in front of our office that day.
There you go.
That would probably be the service person.
That was
came
the
up,
one.
Look at it.
Yeah, it seems over the years with that old one, we've replaced just about everything on it at least once.
We started out, they told us we didn't, they not being RBM, being other, we had 3 or 4 other furnace places looking at this, working on it, because we couldn't ever find anybody that would actually know how to service this Avion boiler. And they said our propane line wasn't big enough coming in, then they said the regulators weren't big enough, then it's just an ongoing thing of everything, but
Cavalcade.
the actual unit wasn't really ever set up correctly. And that's what this RVM had figured out. He worked on it for 2 days straight, 2 years ago. And ended up on the phone for hours with the factory, and they reprogrammed the whole thing, and since then, knock on wood, up till this point, it has run flawlessly. But, as he said, you took the life out of it by just trying to make it work and not ever cleaning it, it was the process of, you were trying to make it run every day, you were tearing this thing apart and putting it back together, not actually trying to make it efficient or anything like that. So,
And the wash bay has had more, I said in committee as well, the wash bay's had more work than we originally anticipated. We knew we'd be throwing it open to the ambulance corps, fire departments, et cetera. But we were pleasantly surprised to see how much it was used, particularly by county. So we,
and the sheriff's department.
and the sheriff's department, exactly, county included. So it's been a godsend, and one that we should not even wait, I don't think, any time. This is below $10,000 threshold, I think we should just buy it.
And the new one, I'm sure, would be more efficient.
Well, yes, it should be. I mean,
Okay.
everything newer is more efficient this way.
Well,
Life expectancy on the new one?
I do not know. I did not ask that question.
well, of course, there'll be two different, should be asked, but there'll be two different answers. One will be warranty, and the other will be life expectancy, but, you know, I would have guessed 15 for this one, and it didn't make it, but
It might be in the quote.
The wash bay is a valuable
Factory warranty,
real estate, so.
completion of the job, factory this and
the
that.
warranty was 2 years.
And the quote is only good for 10 days.
Nah, they'll stick to it.
Yeah, it does not mention life expectancy, just what they're going to change, and they have to replumb things, so it's obviously the new one is not identical.
Right, you're gonna have some new fittings as well, that part of that bit.
So the 5520 will cover everything?
Yes.
The plumbing, the,
50
Labor.
Installation, and the unit, 5,200.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Our neighbors will thank you as well as our crew.
So the next is a little more bad news, but not as bad. The garbage truck has not yet come off the factory line, although it was supposed to be, and still has a current build date of February 7th.
That's
it's-
behind us.
Yeah, that's way behind us now, in their terminology. They are, obviously, the factory's running behind schedule. He could not give me an actual date, all he knows it is in the line to go in. So, when it hits the actual, starts being produced, he doesn't know.
Where is that, Randy?
That is in Texas.
I thought, far away.
Then it goes, I found this out today, I made some phone calls. From there, it goes to Mississippi. Because the chassis, or the box, the garbage part of it, is not going to be installed in upstate New York. It is going to be installed in Mississippi at the factory, where they produce the garbage bodies. Then it comes up to this lovely state and gets a PDI, is what they're calling it, pre-delivery inspection, from both Peterbilt and the garbage packer company. And then when they both agree that it's what it's supposed to be and everything is working, they call us up and tell us they're gonna deliver it. So that part of it is short and sweet, they say, but depending on how far behind the truck chassis ends up, which is already 2 weeks, and then how far behind that puts Mississippi, because if they were expecting this thing the second week of February, or first week of February, and it's not there, we obviously get shoved off and
Right.
somebody else goes in front of
So
it.
question I probably should have asked before, is it then driven or trucked?
Well, more than likely driven from there to here. Our tandems come all the way across the country, and our current, the last tandem, then went all the way back to Idaho and got billed, and then came back here to us. So it made it across the country twice.
Twice.
I know the fire department, when they do a build, they invite the officers down to do a pre-delivery inspection
At the site.
at the site where they're
Right.
building it. And do they do that?
No.
With the garbage?
No. With the dump trucks, they have us come out to Watertown, where the bodies and stuff are put on normally there, and have us go through everything, so this is in this spot, and that's in this spot, and so on and so forth.
So when they deliver it, they go over the
Yeah,
build list.
yeah. So, the garbage truck is in no way, shape, or form going to be here, and I would say, best guess, late May, June, at this
We're
point.
loading up on duct tape or?
Yeah.
No,
We're gonna keep our fingers crossed on that.
Don't take
Yeah.
white paint.
There's been
White
a few,
They need a couple more months out of it.
few documentations on the garbage truck repair list that had to take care, things taken care of that we are patching, so.
Keep our fingers
We'll get it
crossed.
through, one way or the other. We hope. We also, well, that's in the committee report, so I'll wait for that. We'll wait for that. The next is the big conversation, which is probably gonna take a while. The truck committee met, and I brought this up before a board meeting that we were going to meet and go over things, and I have now quotes from not only the truck company to build a chassis, but the body company, what I was just talking about in Watertown, that has built the last two trucks of ours. Although I cannot accept that quote as of tonight, even if we wanted to, because the salesman called me and told me to disregard that. The steel prices have started dropping, and he wants another week to quote our price, because it could change the price in our favor by $5,000 or $6,000. So we won't be discussing the body part of it. I mean, we can discuss it. It's still gonna be the same body and such, but, and plows. But he has asked me to hold off because his bid can get better in another week or so. I thought that was awful nice of them right
Yeah.
off to lose it. Call me
Well,
up.
they're wise to do it because you're doing a lot of business and the last thing you wanna be is the last guy that got the last bad price.
Right.
I mean, we will remember that too.
So, doing this, normally I would say do this in one, discussion, but we'll do this separately now because of that. Tracy Road Equipment is who we deal with for all of our vehicles. They bid through the Onondaga, bid, so we can piggyback off of that for the legalities of it, but the same identical truck as our last truck except for 1 foot longer. We did change transmission and, being that we changed transmissions, the horsepower rating did a little bit differently also. But that chassis now is 152,000, let me get my glasses. That's the body, $163,707.12. The last chassis, do you remember what I told you guys?
I didn't bring those notes.
I believe it was 138, in the range of 138 in 2019, which was 4 years ago. Now, keep in mind, this is a price for 2024, end of the year, fourth quarter truck build. So he has 3 slots left, he's reserved one of them for us. If we quote unquote say, no, we wanna rebid this, we wanna change things or whatever, we will be into 2025, probably well into it, like we are with the garbage truck now. That would bring us another, to go to 23 to 24, he's got $3,500 figured in. So right off the bat, to go from 24 to 25, it's gonna go up $3,500 automatically, plus whatever changes between now and then. We discussed in our committee meetings other styles of trucks, as in single axles, smaller trucks, so on and so forth. I'm definitely not in favor of that because of the fuel costs, number one. You're running the same number of wheels, or the truck, and you're carrying half the load. You're getting 9 tons rather than 20 tons of whatever you haul, whether it be dirt, whether it be blacktop, whether it be sanding the roads. You would have to double back, do whatever, you're wasting fuel. And
Yeah,
then
multiple trips.
$5 a gallon
Wear and tear.
at 2.7 miles to a gallon that we're getting. That's not even, I don't even think it should be in the configuring of this, thought of this.
What truck are you looking to replace?
Over 220, which is a 2006 truck. Is it 2007? It was built in 2006.
Kath,
How many hours are on
we,
it?
I don't know how many hours are on it. The mileage is 160 something.
but one of the discussions here centered around the reserve funds that we've been putting into for the next truck. And we never are not paying for a truck, is we've been putting in $50,000 a year towards a tandem of this type. What Randy was pointing out to Don and I was that more than likely to finish out this budgetary process, we wouldn't get there in time to retire this old one and get a new one. And his suggestion was that we go to 60 for the final 2 years, which is a budgetary thing that we can, take up, but that would probably get us there. And I'm hoping that any flattening or decrease, God willing, of steel prices may make this nonsense about, oh, we held you off so long that you're now up for the next year's one. No apology, no kiss on the cheek, just now it's gonna cost more. Maybe that will abate. I know you're very, very fond of this company truck. I'm all about the tandems. I completely agree with you on the math and the strategy there. But, we sometimes have to look at non-Cadillac, not even first run. And we hashed all that out for quite a while in Randy's office. But I do think, irrespective of some of the finer details, we probably will have to, for the 24 and 5 budgets, we'll probably have to be upping that ante, because it's not gonna go away.
Right, so going into that reserve fund, so that the other 3 board members know, there's 200,000 there now. There's this truck, without that little pickup that I got today from the other place.
Yeah, 300.
Comes to 316,000 and change. So, that being said, we're $20,000 roughly short, so that's the 10,000 more in each year. That also being said, that the truck is a 24 end of the year, so we're not gonna see it until budget season of 25.
Correct.
Because it has to have the body put on it and so on, just like we just said with the garbage truck. So you're gonna be in March of 25 before you actually see this truck. Everything going picture perfect.
Or they see any money.
Right, before they see any money either. In that point. That being said, our current truck will be 18, 19 years old that we're driving down the road. 2006 to 25, 19 years old.
Yeah, and well over
We
200,000.
did put a new box on it in 2014, when we did all the refurbs of 2 or 3 trucks. That was the one that received the newer, that's why we got rid of the other one first, the newer box. But that was, rectifying an old problem. It still has the running gear of a 2006 truck.
Is it my
That's the
understanding?
beauty of diesels, though, they go and go.
Yeah, is it my understanding that the manufacturer is looking for an order?
Yes, so the manufacturer is, basically holding this until I tell him yay or nay, but like I said, he's only got 3 left, he's probably down to just us by now. I've gotten,
But we just have to do a verbal commitment, right, Randy?
Yeah, there's no money.
No money down.
No money,
It's
but
an order.
it's gonna be more than verbal, it's gonna be, the last 3 pages of this is signing documents and pass the resolution, and just like we did the garbage truck, and yes, we will buy it in 2 years from now, and so on and so forth. But because he can't lock down to a price, he can't ask us for money. That's just the way.
Not to put another variable in this, and I didn't think about it the other day, but I thought about it, I mentioned it briefly to Randy before the meeting, the reason why, I always ask questions, I asked a question about a single axle, because it's a lot cheaper, and it was explained, and we discussed it, but we wanna get a tandem, but if we got a triaxle, would that be, if you look at all the trucks going down the road now, the trailers went from tandems to triaxles to quad axles, and basically to carry more weight because of the fuel prices.
Bingo.
If we had a triaxle, would it be worth the extra money for that to put on a plow? And I know it would be big for the back roads, but we could use it on big.
It would only be allowed, not allowed, but it'd only be
Used
used
on the main road.
main roads, for plowing roads, because it wouldn't get turned around on back roads.
Sure. Maybe size, weight, yeah.
It would definitely help us in the summertime. I'm not,
Long hauls.
yeah,
Almost. 'Cause we
every
used,
bit of stone now pretty much comes from at least Northville,
right, we
Oh,
used to be
yes.
able to haul from Wells to here.
and we don't do that anymore.
How about roads,
Roads, we get our sand from there,
sand?
yeah.
Yeah, it's a street, so.
But
Just
everything,
fuel
everything
economy.
else comes from either Peckham's, Delaney's down in Northville, Peckham's is in Chestertown,
Right.
or Bratz out on Route 12, and then the new company that we just started doing business with, which is down just the other side of Hinkley Reservoir.
Yeah, so those are all, you know,
They're all long hauls.
100-mile round trips.
Yes, they're all an hour and 15 minutes minimum each way.
Yeah.
So when you drive that far, you know, Northville is the closest, 45 minutes, you know, and that's, you know, hour and a half typically.
Right, you're talking 40 miles maybe to here,
Yeah,
at 2 miles a gallon.
right, well, we might get 5 or 6 in the winter, summertime, but, you know,
It's still,
plowing, we only get 2.7, I figured this all out.
right,
And there's 2.7 and 3.4 on the new trucks, so, yeah, they're a little bit more efficient, but, the calculations suck.
how much more can a triaxle haul than a tandem?
Sorry. That's, I don't know. That's a good answer. I would say it's probably gonna be 5 or 6 ton more. So it's, I know a trailer is 35 to 38 ton. We call it 20. So somewhere in between there.
Do you feel it necessary, Randy, to go with a triaxle?
I haven't done the math on it, honestly.
I'm sorry, I didn't think of it the other day.
Yeah, I really, I never really,
It's kind of thrown
I
something.
know there are townships that have them.
Yeah.
Newcomb has one,
Really?
yeah, and I don't know if Long Lake Proctor County trailer. I actually would probably feel to go that way if we're just gonna haul, considering hauling, I would consider just getting a tractor or a trailer from the county.
Yeah, but then you couldn't use it for,
Yeah, that's
Right,
6
it'd be a
inches down the
dedicated
road.
summertime hauler.
Right.
But, I didn't really go that way. So, I mean, it's something to look into, but
But I think, you know, again, down the road, we may be forced
yeah.
to not have all 3 be big monsters. We may have to make some adjustment.
but we know the price of fuel
This
isn't
one
gonna
needs to
go
be
down.
replaced.
no.
And if it does,
Excuse
it's
me.
only gonna be a little. But I think trying to be fiscally appropriate or fiscally responsible, we should maybe look at it. And I hate to, I don't know if we can put this off for another 2 weeks or,
I would not be aware.
So all 3 trucks, when it's time to haul in whatever, all 3 tandems are hauling.
Yes, right now, typically 220 does not do paving jobs. Just because it's highly probable that's gonna break down. So with hot mix in the back, we don't.
No, it's a waste of money.
Yes, $1,500 worth of blacktop that could be jackhammered out of it if the truck breaks down in a certain way. So I don't do that, but every other aspect of it, from ditching to everything else, all three trucks do all three things. Everything else, hauling sand,
You
gravel.
wanna tell the board the relative ages, we know 18 or 19 years old would be, maybe pushing 20 would be the end for this one. What is the next vintage, just so there's,
So the one that's on the state road now is a 2017. And the newest one is a 2019. The previous one that was on the state road was only 7 years old when we got rid of it because of the salt and the
State.
lesser quality. We bought a cheaper truck. And 7 years later, it was going down the road. So state truck for that same company, that was here for 6 years, and we got rid of that one. Now, the back road trucks, which this will be one of them, they typically, I'm shooting for 15 years for every truck. That's why we have a 5-year
right,
plan to replace every 5 years, one of them. That's 5 years of $50,000, that's $250,000 where I thought we should be, and obviously now with the going rates, the $250,000 isn't. So that puts us out 15 years before we replace the next truck. You know, 5 years here, 5 years here, 5 years there, makes the truck 15 years old automatically before we gather up. So if we buy this one in 2025, say, 5 more years makes it 2030, which means the truck that's 2017 will then be 13 years old, which is 2 years shy of what I thought where we should be. The reason that one got bought was we had another one of these no snow years, some of we were here, and we managed to piecemeal it. We took a box off of the truck that we kept.
right.
We took the plows off the truck that we kept. We just bought the cab and chassis. We
Yeah, it was a good.
Made a new truck.
created this
It was
truck,
good.
the
It was good
2007.
creative.
So I believe that the 13 years thing is not too far off from the 15 years.
As long as we've gotten this far in the weeds, maybe you edify the rest of the board and the public on, at least for now, and anything can change, but as of right now, we're pretty much still tilting just a little positive of break even with the state contracts that pay us back in order to accommodate the use of these big trucks, right? We would not need $300,000 and $1,500,000 trucks if we were not doing big chunks of state road. So far, and again, they're year-to-year contracts, but so far, our sense is, A, going forward, the state would need us at least as much
Right.
as we would need them. By doing contract work for the state, two things happen. We're able to stabilize our year-round employment of full staff. And public definitely is served because we do a better job than the state does on their own roads. But they're still, up till now, they're still paying for 2 men when they put 1 in their own. And so reimbursements are still in our favor.
Not only do they reimburse the men, everything else, but I took to the committee just what we get back for the truck itself.
Right.
Now included in that is our fuel and, you know, wear and tear and parts and all that.
The program.
But if you take that dollar amount, that is what dollar amount I'm suggesting, the 60,000, goes into the truck fund. That still, last year we brought in 62, I think it was.
Yeah, just over.
Just over, and last year was a light snow year also, this year being so, but this year we have ice storms. So this year I think is gonna actually be more than that. So that 60,000 that I'm asking in every year for the budget time for the truck fund is really just the truck money that we are not making, don't get me wrong. Because if we didn't do the state road, we wouldn't be wearing trucks out, blah, 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 blah. There's ways of looking at it, but it's justifying that truck. So this one happens to be justified for the back roads being paid for by the state road. I don't wanna say that out too loud,
Well, again, and all of these things,
but the state knows they can't do this without us.
town boards and county boards have to roll the dice and make purchases that are 10 and 15 years out, still knowing that it's a year-by-year contract.
Right.
But when you look at the facts on the ground, we meaning several of the other contract people too, are doing a good job, and they're doing a good job at a reasonable rate for the state, so there's no reason to think that we will not continue. So we again, roll the dice and play in that defensive sandbox.
Anything else, Randy?
The only variable is
Any
what
other
Don said.
questions? No other questions? Anybody? Okay. Okay, so we're gonna move on.
What,
Oh,
the
wait.
question is whether we approve Randy
Yeah, really.
to make the purchase with no financial commitment at this point, and then continue working parallel tracks and check out the rest of these variables,
Right.
triacs and so on.
Right, before I can put an order in for this one, though, I would definitely talk to the dealer,
Sure.
see what the specs are changing and how much money is gonna be invested.
I would like to.
Per se, how much more we can haul and everything
I would
else.
like to approve this
Okay.
order. Good.
Oh, I lost my train of thought.
Well,
Okay,
all
go
I'm
ahead.
saying is we approve, Randy, the order. Still, I mean, he can then go along for the next couple of weeks, do the rest of this work, decide whether he's sending this check in, not checks, this note in, or whether we need to reconnoiter, perhaps with the same company, about the other options.
Yeah, it's just a matter of lengthening the chassis and putting another axle in there. It's not, I don't think it's gonna be that drastic.
You still have
The
the same
problem, the
running-
price change, the big price change comes in the next section of this, which is a longer box.
The box.
And everything else.
Yeah,
And
and
that's where the price change is you're gonna see
From that to a triax.
Yeah, because you're gonna go from a 15-foot box here to an 18-foot box,
Of course.
more than likely.
Yeah.
And that, that's gonna be a price change.
I got my train of thought back.
Okay.
Hey, Don.
With the garbage truck, yeah, the light bulb went on. With the garbage truck, we couldn't get the year we wanted, so we had to get a newer truck and the price went up.
Correct.
And what's gonna happen with this one? Do you know?
This one has the same exact clause on the back of it that we signed off on. And it's basically stating that this model just changed from, we have 4900s, last year they changed to a 49X. So they've changed the model already. It's pretty much across the whole company, everything. When they start changing models, they all gotta keep up with Jones.
The industry goes.
Yeah, the industry changes, so
But if
we
they
would be
can't-
in the same chassis, it's just changing the year at this point.
Cause the garbage truck with a
A newer year.
newer year, automatically, it's like buying
Price
anything.
up.
Price
Bucked at five.
So if they can't come through with the chassis or the box.
Right, so from 23 to 24, they put in here
Right.
$3,500 increase. That's figured in here, because they know they're not getting a 23, so you're into 24s.
Right.
If we don't get
But we're not gonna
this in on our
take
little
delivery of
window,
25.
at the end of the year production, you had 3 trucks left at the end of that year, the slots saved for him, and one of them is supposedly saved for us, then we're probably 99% sure we're gonna be sliding into a 2025, which means automatically, in my point of view, is there's gonna be at least another $3,500 added onto that.
Yeah.
So that
Steel
was,
steel prices.
yeah, hopefully the steel prices go down, but that,
Hopefully
that
when the
changes
lottery
those a
comes.
little bit, it changes these a lot.
Yeah, I agree with what Neil says.
I would move that Randy sends in the paperwork at his discretion, check on the rest of the variables we brought up, but to get us in the queue for this new truck.
A second?
I'll second. You'll be talking to the same people with this.
All in favor?
No?
Aye.
Discussion? No? Aye.
Right.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. Kathy, Rochelle, any further discussion? No. Okay, any opposed? Okay, I just want to go back to the furnace. We didn't do an all in favor.
Oh, no. We better do
All in
that.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I am certain, yes.
Okay, we moved it first and second, but we never,
I'm usually I'm listening.
and you are usually on top of me on that. Okay, anything else, Randy?
Oh, yes.
What?
I told you
You
guys.
want to wake me up when you're done?
I told you this was gonna be long. So, the next is what I told you I could not give you a price on. I don't know if I wanna discuss it now. And then it's just a matter of pricing, but now we're definitely changing pricing if we do this other.
Yeah, that's all understood.
So, the Henderson Truck Company in Watertown is one that we have all our plows, all our plow gears, sanders, everything with at this point in time.
Boxes?
Boxes, reason being is they hold up way longer than anything else. And I will not deny that I thought they were more expensive, and I talked to the company that we're doing the trucks with, they also put boxes on for a living. He flat out would not give me a price if I talked to these people, because he can't compete. I said, are you kidding me? These guys are the, higher end people that build great stuff, and you're saying you can't? He goes, no, we're at least 25% more than them right off the bat. I said, you've got
Thanks
to
for
be kidding
playing.
me.
Yeah, well, good.
So, that was good news that maybe these people, and these are the ones that called me and said, don't hand that in because our prices are going down. I
I like
gotta
that
believe
salesman.
that they're an honest company that's
Yeah.
trying to keep their nose clean. They also do 90% of the state contracts, as in state DOT trucks.
That's why it's better just be
So,
frank about
yeah.
things.
And what we're doing with these deals and stuff, we gotta understand that we buy a truck every 5 years.
Yeah.
We're not like these bigger town cities
Right.
that buy fleets of them every 5 years.
But yet, when I called him the next day, he was sitting in my office. He says,
Right.
he
Henderson's been good.
yeah, they've been really good to us, and, the state trucks are a different, there's, bidding is different and everything else for them. But they, hands down, I bought a used plow when we had a problem with our plow off of Auctions International, that was a Henderson, because I didn't want anything other than that on the trucks. They're much better quality than anything else. So I will be back to you with the price, depending on which way it goes. But I know this price is higher than if we go with what I had planned. But if we do the other thing, then I'll have to compare the prices and get back to you on that.
Okay.
And the rest are in committee reports. I have a couple things
Are you done already?
for now.
Wow.
Okey dokey.
I can just leave.
So, nope, don't do that.
So the only building thing was the light for the library's flag?
And the boiler.
All right.
That little thing. You want me to go over that again?
No.
Okay. In old business, the ban update. Okay, a certified copy of the proposal was sent with a copy of the legal notice to Estoppel at Mr. Goodfriend on February 9th. As of today, he has not received it, but they do have the electronic copy. Today, Stephanie sent a copy of the legal ad as proof that it was published. This legal notice of estoppel is good until March 10th, which is 20 days. And the next step is, and this is questionable, next step is to get 3 bids from different banks to take the lowest bid. Mr. Megger, who works with Mr. Goodfriend, will send over the wording for the bidding process. We need the money by late May. We'll keep you all in the loop. Now, is there a question here, I thought, on the next step with the 3 bids?
I wouldn't have any questions, but I will say that given our dates right now, yesterday being President's Day, all of your bonding companies statewide, maybe even outside the state, will be down in New York at the Association of Towns. So if Stephanie was, say, looking for something to come back, I mean, maybe if it was secretarial, it might come back to her, but Mr. Goodfriend and all of those folks are usually in attendance with a booth, et cetera, at this, once a year conference. So it may be a few days, but I think you got the right verbiage going.
Yeah.
Stephanie, are you up to speed? I mean, is it you comfortable where you are?
I mean,
That's it.
I've only contacted them limitedly because they are attorneys, but, once I email with them, they get right back to us. They were pretty quick today. Mr. Goodfriend was busy, so he had his associate there get back to me right away.
There you go. He's busy because
Yeah.
he's in New York,
Yeah,
guaranteed.
right.
Okay, so next thing is the campground update. Today at our county board meeting, Joseph Zelwiski from DEC Region 5 was on Zoom due to, he has COVID. So Bill Bernard, the regional supervisor from campgrounds out of Raybrook, was present. According to the DEC calculations, last year after Labor Day, the bookings were down and there was a shortage of staffing at the campgrounds in Hamilton County. So, there is going to be a job fair in Indian Lake. The date will be announced, and I will have that information for everybody within the next couple of days. And our county tourism department, Rochelle, will also be doing one in Speculator in mid-March. That date will also be announced. It sounds promising if we can get the workforce. There will be posters coming from DEC to the county that will be distributed to all the towns, and DEC will also get us the link for the jobs available, so that we can get that out there and possibly on our website. So as soon as we get any of this information, I will get it out there so that everybody has it and can spread the word. That's that. Next is the property tax exemption that we were talking about doing for the ambulance car. I've been talking with Barry Baker and working with the village. Jeanette and I have agreed to put the brakes on and wait until we both have more on the guidelines. Not sure how or if this is going to work for us. One thing is, if you receive a tax credit when you do your income tax of $200 for a single person and $400 for married when filing your income tax, the income tax credit would be impacted by the property tax deferral. So you could only choose one or the other.
Is that the star or is that separate?
No, that's when you do your income tax, you get the $200 and the
Wasn't there
$400.
a confusion that the star exemption, if you were taking the star exemption, that it might?
No, I don't believe that is gonna affect it at all. That has not come up at all.
Okay.
Believe me, there's been a lot coming up that we've been dealing with on
Well,
village and
Barry's on
town.
top of it.
Yep, so as I get more information, I will let everybody know, but at this point, we're just gonna sit tight and wait to get more information in. The state has been very vague and keeps coming up with more guidelines, and I know everybody's shocked to hear that, but this is where we're at with that. So, I've added to new business the chamber contracts. We have a couple of things that are gonna be a little different tonight. So let's go over the chamber contracts. This, we're gonna have, has everybody had a chance to read through them?
I did, they were, just sort of vague, open-ended contracts.
Not much
You
different
saw
than
the
the
same
old
thing, right?
So,
Repetitive and
yeah,
the Schedule A is much different from the old contract.
so,
And it more or less.
Schedule A from which one? Or are they both the same?
Yeah, they're both the same. More or less, these contract proposals reflect what the two co-president ladies were saying to us, right?
Yes, pretty. First, I want to say on Schedule A of the promotion service contract, please cross out snowmobile maps. That was an accident that they put that in there.
Right,
She
yeah.
stopped in the other day because they will not be doing it because somebody else wants to do it. So that's one thing that will not be happening.
Yeah, they said that too.
I guess I just kind of thought after our last meeting that there was gonna be like a business association part, and then the other part was going to be whether you wanna call it visitor center or chamber, promoting events in our community. So I guess I'm a little confused by this, and somebody enlighten me if I'm looking at this wrong.
No, I never really thought, you're right, that was sort of the way one of the two of them spoke at some length. I never really thought that would be workable into a contract right now, simply because they need the municipal hours, but the municipal monies to function. They have a medium-size amount of business members who pay a rather small stipend, usually $100, $150, that kind of thing. it's not enough to run what we expect from them, and I don't think it's enough to run a separate business organization. So I think that this will be a work in progress, as it seemingly has been for 40 years. The only thing I'll say is that these two, I imagine other board members too, I'm happy about the energy that they're showing. But again, I think they need to sort of learn a little bit about how it's been done, and believe me, there's better ways to do it. But right now, I think we both kind of have to coexist.
I'm looking at the things that are no longer in Schedule A. And they are, a lot of it has to do with communication. Advertising, cooperate with Hamilton County Office of Tourism and Roost. Participate in area economic development planning. Representation at Roost. So 5 things are gone from Schedule A, from the old contract, and they all have to do with communication, either to outside forces or to groups that are doing jobs that have to do with tourism.
Some years back when the board was, wanted more, was expecting more for the amount of money that we were then paying, which is more than it is here. We negotiated it down some, but we also, and it was very poorly received by the then president of the chamber. My board would not pass off on that contract if they did not prove out, remember this? Prove out a certain amount of winter advertising. The board, Betsy was on that board, were unhappy with a number of things. They didn't push back on us, Gary O'Rourke and others wanted more hours at the chamber. Now they're calling it a visitor center, but whatever you call it. And that worked, but we insisted on in the contract, and they did it for a number of years, I don't know if they're still doing it, where a certain amount of money had to be spent in the winter quarter. They were we were paying them in quarters, and they were reporting in quarters. A certain amount had to be spent on the town of Lake Pleasant snowmobile or winter recreational things. A lot of pushback from that because we're all in this together and so on and so on. But quite frankly, it was a feeling at the time that my board, that others, and there were more in the chamber municipal bin, were not paying enough to demand. Well, Wales was still paying a stipend, but the board wanted more bang for the buck, and they reluctantly, I don't know what choice they really had, but they reluctantly agreed, and then would send Nancy quarterlies proving out a certain amount of these things. The rest of the time, there were events, and again, you don't want to get too deep in these weeds because there are events that might be hosted in Pasico or hosted wherever, Morehouse, where we want everyone to get along and we want that pot of money to be coalesced. So it's tricky here, and you're right, there's some definite things that they're trying to back away from. And I think it's because they don't anticipate expanding their staff much, and without that, it's hard to cover all the things. A little bit tricky about the farmer's market.
Oh, if that goes away?
Yeah,
there'll
that's
be
something they've done a
riots.
good job at, and
And I know it doesn't make them a lot of money,
No.
but you know what? Sometimes the money gets spread around in other ways.
no, I agree, and remember when we brought it up to her, she was saying that, well, we're trying to concentrate on things that bring new people into town, and that doesn't necessarily do that. And I'm not so sure that that's quantifiable for them, but when you can't park along 30 for a few hours and there's people.
There's
Every
lines,
day.
yeah.
Yeah, so I.
It's a very popular thing.
I would certainly hope, if we have to pen it into this, that that it would be theirs to do, and, it's not the town's, crew to run something like this. They have the expertise. They could reach out to Donna for assistance or advice. But I would not like to see that go away.
So, what do we wanna do here? Do we wanna have a couple of us sit down this week and go through this?
I think we should. The Schedule A is, there's nothing
We're getting,
in there, we're getting that.
No, no
We're getting-
quantifiable stuff.
There's no quantifiable stuff. It's, we're responsible to help local events. Now, what local events are they going to help be responsible for, how many per year? I mean, we pay them $30,000 a year. And for what? It's,
for internet, for answering the phone, is what this looks like.
Yeah.
And there needs to be, I agree with you, quantifiable.
are they involved at all in this, restaurant crawl that's going around town?
I can't say offhand, I'm not a chamber member anymore.
Is that Casey?
It does,
I think that's
the
Casey
stuff
doing
that's on
that.
Facebook,
Casey's
3
promoting.
times a week is all Casey.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's certainly promoting all the local
All
businesses.
the local businesses, there's,
Well, that's Casey's core, that's what he's trying to do.
And of all years, they need it.
yeah, but should the Chamber of Commerce be involved in some?
Yeah, and I don't wanna misspeak, I don't know if they've even spoken to each other. There, of course, is, it's certainly not evident in the postings by Casey, but it's understood that, they're not on the same page.
Well, they want
They
to do
They
things.
split at a bad time with other people than this.
Okay, so, not to labor this,
The sit down would be,
a sit down. I'm willing to sit down with one of you, because we can only do one more and myself, because I'm a voting member and one other one. To go through this and maybe have suggestions and possibly email it to you board members to get your feeling for it. And then we can possibly try to adjust it to what we think it should be and get it back to them to go over.
some minor adjustments. I mean, these ladies are full of energy, they seem to have a vision, and I'm willing to support that with some very clear-cut, quarterly reports. At one point, there was, mention about, yearly,
Yeah, but
I-
it contradicted itself, because
It
it did
did.
say earlier in the contract quarterly, so
Yeah,
they
so
contradicted
I
it.
would like to see quarterly reports and to see what's going on beyond answering the phone and internet promotions.
Betsy, I will just say, I'd be happy to be at your disposal.
Okay,
I would just say, this may not be as fruitful as long as the co-presidents have the authority to, make a deal. I think right now that's probably true for them, but I don't know the other members.
okay,
Not me, the other board member.
okay, so you and I'll make a plan.
Just call me.
Okay,
That's all.
okay, I'll
Thank you.
call you tomorrow, I think that's the
Yes,
best. Okay, so moving right along, I would like to introduce our code enforcement officers, Steve Page, with his end of the year report for 2022.
I think you all know me, but.
Yes, I know we do. Does Paul know you?
Okay.
Okay, so we do.
Well, greetings, everybody, good evening. You have before you a bunch of numbers, so I will just go through this report. But first of all, I want to start it off by something you don't have on that page, and that's what happened last year. Last year, the total number of permits issued for the year of 2021 was 128, and 125 the previous year. So 2020, 125 permits, 2021, 128 permits. This year, you will notice that the total number of permits issued was 96, and the total permit renewals was 7. So that's 103 versus those numbers. So you can see what the change in, I would say this is totally because of the economy that's happening right now. And I also see a number of the threats that I've issued. Some of them are saying, well, we may hold off another year to complete it, or things like that. So that's a thing, building is definitely slowing down in this area. But I'm still getting calls for new permits, so we'll see what happens. It's all up in the air. But I'll go down the list here. New homes completed, or complete new homes. This is just permits, they're not completed at this point. New homes permits were issued at number 6. Of those, new homes with a foundation only. A number of people are going in stages, so there are 2 of those. So there's a total of new homes in process. Porches and decks, there are quite a few of those. 8 permits were issued. 1 seasonal camp, if you don't know what that is, that's basically a camp that has no heating system. It's only heated by a wood stove. No toilet facilities, no septic system. It has an outhouse, which is still permitted. No well, so basically it's a basic camp, so has different criteria.
That would be like a lease camp, wouldn't it? Lease camp, lime timber lease camp, maybe?
Yeah, yeah. So that's what that is. House and garage alterations, speaks for itself, there's 14 of those. House repair or small addition, 4. 1 pole barn. Detached garage, 4. Sheds, 3. Generators, 4. New wells, 14. New septics, 14. Septics repair, that's if you have to do something with the leach field or something like that. 4, demolition, 6. Some of those are related to demolishing a portion of the house that's getting remodeled, so that's not complete, but necessarily complete demolition. Solid fuel or propane stove, 6. New heating system, 3. And again, the total permits was 96, and the renewals was 7. I issued 6 certificates of occupancy and 6 certificates of meeting, climate compliance, COC compliance. So, and the total amount received and for all of those permits was $7,775. No stop work orders were issued. Contractors, I've built a good relationship with all the contractors, so we get along fine. But when I tell them they need something to change something, they take immediate action and it's taken care of. So it's all good. They call me most of the time. I mean, I make to some of them that don't call me quite so often. I make unscheduled stops. So. No notices from the fire department. It's telling me that there's something in danger, some fire has happened. They have to do that if the structure is damaged so much that it needs to be altered or repaired or even closed down.
Chimney fire, you gotta be
Well,
notified?
not necessarily, but I mean, if they tell me it's questionable, yes, but they have not reported anything to me.
No, I don't think they've had it.
Well, that's good.
I've been a member there for,
Nobody can afford the heat, right? Okay, so attached is a lot of numbers and documentation of how those were arrived at, so I don't need to go through all that. But if you have any interest in looking at that, they're all there. So, any questions?
Steve, have you been involved in, have you been, any reports of, any problems with septic going into the lake or any of that?
I have not heard of any, no, I haven't been notified of any problems like that.
no complaints.
No complaints. No complaints of odor or anything like that from septic system.
Right, I mean, I think we were wise to put a stop to any new local laws under this because it really is not our purview. You should be one of the first people called, but I mean, it is a health department.
Right.
it is a DEC call for something egregious like that, but I'm glad to hear that.
So anybody have any questions for Steve?
I just got a question, on the solid fuel, it says solid fuel of propane stove, is that solid fuel or?
I lump them both together. I mean, a propane, if it's a new propane stove or a propane insert, I just have to go and look at it and make sure it's meeting the specifications as far as clearances, you know, pipes, chimney
But
pipes and things like
that
that.
would include, wood stoves, pellet stoves, that type of
Pellet
thing?
stove would be solid fuel, yes.
Wood
So,
stove,
yeah.
Okay, well, Steve, thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
You're a great dedicated employee.
Yeah, nothing
We're
but
very
good.
very happy we have you.
well, I'm happy to be here, by the way. I enjoy.
So, before Steve leaves, I'm gonna switch something around here on the agenda. I sent everybody a copy of the local law to update enforcement of the New York State Uniform Code and Energy Code. Steve had already gone through and made changes. This is just something that the state is requiring and just have to do it online. We kinda just have to go through it. Everybody went through it. Anybody see any changes? You got this, right?
Yeah,
So,
It's basically
I didn't
includes
print it.
all the new requirements.
yep,
And I just went through a recommended contract online that had somebody's city in it and didn't have Town of Lake Pleasant, so I changed all that before I gave it to you. And I think I changed it all correctly, so I appreciate your eyes going through it and making sure it's not saying something shouldn't be said, but.
so
I believe
did,
it's-
I didn't see anything and I looked.
nobody saw anything. Okay.
wow.
That's great. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna look for a motion to move this, for Steve to go ahead online and get it updated.
I'll move.
Okay,
Second.
okay, Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so Steve, you got
Thank
work for
you.
tomorrow again.
I already have some work for tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I knew that, but I said more. So, you don't have to stay if you don't want to, or you can.
Well, I'll stay for a bit.
So, next I have another addition, I'm sorry, I don't. This is the resolution for the LoSAP. This is the same. So I sent a copy to everybody, because we have to move funds to cover the LoSAP, and I sent an explanation as to why this year was such a big increase. So the reason for the increase, what we think, is because no firemen retired and we added another youngster on. So last year we had increased it and we had a lot of money left over. This year we increased it a little bit more and we are short $1,341. So, whereas funds will move from SF fund balance to line SF 9025.800 in the amount of $1,341, be it resolved that this move will allow the town board to have enough funding in the SF 9025.800 line to cover over budgeted amount for LoSAP bill for 2023. This bill is for the whole year. We won't get one now till next year, this time for '24. So I'm looking for a motion to discuss.
Moved.
Okay, a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will abstain.
And Don abstains. Okay, perfect. Okay, so next I just want, this is like an FYI, Consolidated Health Board appointment. The Consolidated Health District Board has been down a board member since Dr. Parslow left. It has been over 2 years and the seat is now vacant. I had asked Carrie Ann Greco Allen from Lake Pleasant if she would be willing to fill the seat on the board. Carrie Ann's background is extensive. She has a degree in Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, then went on for her Master's in Nursing, and later she went on for her DNP, which is a Doctor of Nursing Practice. Carrie Ann has worked for the Hamilton County Public Health Nursing Department, where she was the Director of Patient Services until her recent retirement this past January. I have contacted the Consolidated Health Board members, and they were all very happy with the appointment. So this is a 2-year term from January 1st, 23 till December 31st of 24. So I just want to welcome Carrie Ann and thank her
Thank her
for
for
stepping up.
Excellent.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you, Carla was absolutely thrilled with that appointment. Very happy. So here's one that I did have to add in. This morning I received a resolution from the county requesting and authorizing the county highway superintendent to post weight restrictions on town roads. It's exactly the same word for word from 2022. So if anybody wants to read it, I'll pass it around. Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. First sign of spring, kids.
Any opposed? Okay. So next, we're gonna go to committee reports, and we're gonna start, I'm actually gonna start this with, Randy and Stephanie had a meeting today. I was out of the office. So Randy, I'm gonna start with you with the health committee, if you wanna give a report on where we are.
Sure. The best I can say is where we are, we're going to have another meeting tomorrow. With them on conference, we spoke to Arnie and Crystal,
Yes, Crystal.
Crystal.
Yep.
and hashed out where we are with our current insurance. This is strictly for the working people, not the retirees. The insurance cards right now, as they stand, can be used for prescriptions only. Then, when the doctor's office submits a bill to MVP, it takes it away from your deductible that's in your HRA account. You will then get a statement and, in the mail saying how much they took out. That is all fine. The current problem is when people get prescriptions sent up from Nathan Latour to this health center, they submit, when you hand them your HAR card for prescriptions only, HRA, they don't have the technology, I'll leave it at that, to scan that card and make it come out as a prescription. They are taking it as a doctor payment. That gets rejected on the HRA card because it's not a prescription.
Because primary care is not a pharmacy.
Right, we don't have a pharmacy sitting here.
It's a-
Well, what they did, I got rejected this week on a prescription. They don't have, you know, they
Right.
type it into the computer.
Correct, they are not set up for
Yeah.
pharmacy practices.
Different
So,
coding.
The thing that surprises me is, as with Arnie and the brokerage, et cetera, is that this is not that uncommon. So many small, mid-range hospitals have this, primary care networks out there and do it, I mean, we didn't invent this deal where they have a courier that brings the drugs. There's many
So if
others,
you-
Cooperstown and so on, how can they
let-
not?
Let me make this one little
Good.
note on that. If you were to call down there, you say you have a prescription that you have refills on or whatever, and you call down to them,
Call down to whom?
Nathan Latour.
Nathan
Okay.
Latour.
The pharmacy in Nathan Latour.
Yes, do it all
They
the
fill
time.
your script and they send it up here.
Yes.
They do the billing down there, so then it goes through, even though the meds can come up here.
So wait a minute, but we
it's
have
when
to
you
call
go-
in.
When you go here and have them brought up here, then that's the problem.
So wait, I can go down and pick it up in Gloversville.
Yes,
Oh, sure, anytime.
I know that, but
but that's
they,
not-
but
that's
that's,
not
that's the
convenient.
waste of,
Of course.
so.
I agree with that statement.
So you
So
can't call and pay
what
them
the
and then have it
pharmacy-
sent up here?
Mm-hmm.
You can do that,
I believe so, yes.
okay.
So
Over the phone.
The question now is, so when I call to refill a prescription, which we must do, because we're not allowed to call them and have them order our pills anymore, then when I place that order,
You need to
now I
pay for that
have,
order.
with my HRA card at that
should
time.
work with them.
Okay.
But it will not, if I go to the health center
No, it doesn't.
tomorrow, and I say I stubbed my toe and I need pain meds, and they say, oh, we'll have them here at 2:00, that will not work.
If you pay for it out of pocket,
So
can
then-
you be reimbursed?
Then if you,
Okay.
okay, that's next, let's wait on that one. Problem number 2 with our current status, I went to the doctor's office. No problem, do I owe anything? Nope, have a nice day, I had to go downstairs for another treatment in another part of the facility, and boom, we need a copay at the time of visit. Hand them the HRA card, it does not go
No,
through.
it does not.
I said, I knew that, I told you to bill directly to MVP, that's how this is set up, as a card set up, we don't do that. So they will bill me directly, then I get the bill, if I get the bill, I have to get reimbursed, pay it and get reimbursed through MVP.
So that's where you are right now, but tomorrow's meeting,
So tomorrow's meeting, hopefully, we are going to discuss going back to the open card where you can get your prescription, you can get your co-pays, you give them your card at the time of visit or whatever. That card will, up to a certain dollar amount, flat out get accepted.
Yes,
Your stuff will be paid for.
that's what we're all used to,
That's what we're used to, up to that certain dollar amount.
yes.
Or say my other doctor's visit was $2,000, then they have to send it to MVP, get it quote unquote approved. And then it gets adjusted to what price and everything else. Then I have to mail in my explanation of benefits to them. And
If it's over that amount.
if it's over that dollar amount.
Only if it's over that.
Okay, so
Now-
everything's gonna get paid for automatically, except for your big doctor visits. When you go to have a big surgery or this or that or anything else, you're gonna get that explanation of benefits back. You're immediately gonna send it to them and say, pass this, let this go because it really happened. That's the other option.
Oh, that's not good. Well,
I
wait a
think this
minute,
is all ridiculous.
I don't,
this is not
2
what we
weeks,
agreed to.
2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
I could hand that HRA card to a doctor's
Wherever.
office
Yep.
in Utica, boom, it was done.
Mhm.
Then I went down to a different doctor somewhere else a week and a half later, and it wouldn't take anything.
That was
Right.
around
As of the
the end of
23rd,
January.
So when did we get
January.
notified
Last
that
month.
these changes were even
They
going to be
were
happening?
They were open-ended as the switchover was happening because we had that month of a window and the
Yeah.
prime pay ended the end of November. And that we needed that month coverage. So everything was open-ended on those debit cards. Then they went to what they were supposed to be, they went closed, and that's when problems started.
so do you get the sense, and that, it sounds like tomorrow's meeting may solve some things, but do you get the sense from either Arnie or Crystal that they are listening, that they're empathetic, that they're
They
gonna
are,
help?
but they even said to us today, if we were downstate somewhere, we wouldn't have this
We're not.
problem. We're dealing with Nathan LaTower, and they realized that. They realized that Prime Pay probably already had that all figured out, and that's why it was an open-ended card. But they did say that it's not good to have an open-ended card. They explained that to us
Well,
today.
yeah, the open-ended card, you go by whatever on that card, whether it be justifiable, they had a different word for it, medications or whatever. If the town then gets audited, not even the person, nothing else, if the town gets audited saying, we spent all this money on X and it's not insurance plausible things, then we're liable, not we, you.
But like, I mean, stores and things, if you're buying your prescriptions or any over-the-counter things that might be covered, they are coded in the store as FSA or HRA,
Correct.
and the card will not go through unless it is for those items.
If it's open-ended, it will.
If it's
That's-
open-ended, it will.
Because
That's why
I had
we
a
are
Prime
putting
Pay card
it
through the county and it only worked
For
on HRA FSA items. It was not open-ended,
the,
okay.
the Prime Pay card that we had, you could buy almost anything. And then we found this out through different avenues that it was happening. And they put a kibosh to it, next thing you know, we're getting questions about why can't I buy this and why can't I buy this anymore?
Right, but-
Well, that's not
And
on a list of drugs that,
it's the preventable or preventative care drug list.
Cause I mean, if you go to Walmart and you've got a cart full of groceries and you got 3 things that are covered, it's only gonna pay for those 3 things. That was
Right.
my experience with it. So it would not.
but there's
Do that
certain
before.
drugs on there that it would let through that are not supposed to be if it was an open-ended card.
Like vitamins.
Yeah, vitamins.
Well, I'm just saying, I sat in, haven't been in on your committee meetings, but I did sit in on the meetings with Arnie. And I certainly recall, I see Betsy's impatient with this, as am I.
I'm frustrated.
Because these things were brought up for folks who already were using a Prime card. We all at the table were explained to, this is gonna be bumpy and this and that, but my people will figure it out. And we have people in the office, do you remember all this?
I do, and we only agreed to go with this
There you go.
because we had the MVP with one company and the HRA with another. He told us that, oh, well, MVP has an
That's their
MVP card and it makes sense, that's why we went with the company, that's the
Yeah.
only reason we
By
changed.
having money way out
By
in
having it-
Buffalo and.
With the same company.
Mhm.
This is our employee benefits that they're playing with, and I think it's wrong. It's
Well,
not
it-
right.
There's a
I
lot of
agree, I
frustration.
agree with that statement, because I had employees in my office, basically lined up when all this December thing started in January issue. And I was trying to explain to them what was going on and this, that, and they're saying, I don't think that's gonna work, I don't think this is gonna work, and this, that. Until last week, when I finally, had a I've been to the doctor several times and never had an issue. Last week was the first time when I went to this other doctor, and they just flat out said no. And I argued with them, and they said no. And they weren't budging, and I wasn't budging, and we basically got to a stalemate, and I said, just bill me, it'll be 30 days, fine. And I walked out, and that's the way it was, left. That's not what I would consider what we're signed up for.
No,
Please share
I came
this.
back and asked her to come in my office, and I called Arnie that day. I was furious.
This is a pretty well-respected firm. We fired a pretty well-respected firm to go here, and it was his recommendation that we move to the MVP benefit card, not, we already,
weren't looking.
we had already suffered our problems with them. Stephanie had just sort of gotten to the point where there was a comfort level with the old guys. And I realized it was a bank and it was sitting someplace, 200 miles from here. None of this makes any sense if they can't intercede. That's all brokers do. They're not insuring us. They take their
They're
cut.
money handler.
Right, but they're taking their cut and MVP's getting most of it. And it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I want our employees to know we spent a great deal of money to get them the best coverage, and we gotta get this fixed. If we need to meet with Arnie, if you wanna meet with him, I certainly will sit in. You can't keep, doing, because you got the exterminator. No, we
Right.
discussed all this, that there was plenty of
This is
room
supposed to be simple.
we're still in February.
Yeah.
Technically, so I mean, we're hardly 2 months into this. It could end up being the best thing since sliced bread, but he and Crystal, whomever else, he touted that big office. We need to get this fixed.
they need to fix it, or we need to go back to where we were.
Right? I mean, brokers come and
I
go.
hate to do that, but I
Brokers come and
mean,
go.
this is our employees' benefits and we can't do this.
What's this thing about, so, like, if you decide you're gonna have, if a doctor recommends a surgery,
Please, sir.
then they have to call MVP and get approval.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That's the same as it's always been, that
Right, the
insurance
prior
always.
authorization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I got approval for my other quote-unquote procedure, and I got it 3 times in the thing, I got it in the mail, the doctor's office got it, I got all kinds of approvals. So they knew I was coming. They knew that these fees were coming down the line, and yet I still got nailed
You still got.
and bugged for a copay when I walked in that door. And there's not supposed to be copays, because I haven't met that deductible.
No,
take it up tomorrow and see if we
Yeah,
can
And
get some of these bumps.
just beside myself.
but you said something about, there was something about another option, another possibility tomorrow, you were talking about them, about if you have a
Well, you
procedure.
have either what we are right this minute, where you have to work around the whole prescription thing here,
Yeah,
and the copays, you have to, they bill you.
Some take it,
and-
some don't, yeah.
Yeah, some do, some don't, and you're just kind of weighing that one out. Or we do the open up to $500, and your card will work like the Prime Pay did, where it'll just work.
But that's just for the HRA. But
Yeah.
the medical though, with those co-pays, Arnie said he was gonna call that medical practice, remember, he
Yeah.
took it down, he said he was gonna call, so we'll have to ask him tomorrow if
Right.
he calls him or
Right.
not.
Give them a chance to get it right.
Yeah, Because it may not just be the insurance, it could be the providers,
Yeah,
it might
you're
be
right.
found the attorney.
The copay shouldn't have even been a question when they looked at our card and put that little asterisk in there that says there's an account attached to this. And there shouldn't have been a copay. It flat out shouldn't have been, it should have been mailed into MVP and they should have taken care of it.
We went to two doctors on Monday. One said, okay, we'll just bill the insurance. We said the copay comes off the card.
Yep.
And the other one refused it and we had to pay.
And that's what you had happen.
Yep.
2 different doctors, you know?
Yep, one upstairs, one downstairs,
Same-
totally different.
Same bit, same practice though, with
Yeah.
different sites within the same, never mind. Enough.
Well, let's see how we make out tomorrow.
Please,
We'll
good
meet
luck.
with them because this is getting out of hand.
So that's where we
Yeah.
are with the insurance, and I just wanted the board to realize that when people of our, staff starts calling, it's legitimate, there's problems.
There's issues.
You don't
Okay,
wanna mess with the insurance, because when you need it, you need it,
right.
and you don't wanna hassle.
Okay, move, anything else, Randy, on committee? That's for you?
I had one other here. What was it?
Now he had to put his glasses on.
Oh, so we also, committee, discussed the possibilities of a contract to the town of Arietta is going to put in a wash bay in their new building,
This is highway committee.
highway committee. And we also discussed options and so on and so forth. Arietta highway superintendent plus the supervisor called me. I originally was thinking a flat rate fee, but they don't know how many times they're gonna use it, this, that, and everything else. So I'm revamping the outcome of this committee meeting was to just figure out how much it was gonna cost us for a year and, you know, back charge them so we're not losing any money on this and make that into thing. At this point in time, I'm thinking a per usage thing. If they want us to come out there, it's gonna be 2 hours a time, it's gonna be a truck, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that. It's just a flat rate.
The reason.
Our water
The
truck.
reason for this is
Yeah.
because we have an old
The old tanker.
sturdy,
Yeah,
right, water tanker that we use to take gray water from our holding tank for our floor bays, et cetera, to the village. And then for a number of years, we paid the village, and the village, we have come to a very agreeable thing for the town. The village takes that gray water, puts it into their system, and does not charge us. However, this new wrinkle, I was very suspect, as was Don, about this, not because we didn't want to be good neighbors, but because we have one water truck. And it's much better shape than it looks like, but nevertheless, that all said, if it went down, we would be in tough shape to move that stuff from point A to point B. Then having an obligation to move Arietta's would be, not worth a small amount of money that was being bandied around. Two things. One is, I'm glad you went to the other way in discussion. The other is, they need to contact this board. I don't, yes,
Right.
you have the truck and you have the men. This is an intermunicipal agreement that needs to be run to you through.
that's why I'm
Chris.
bringing this out
Absolutely.
to the board now.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, Chris talked to me at county about 2-3 weeks ago, and I told him he needed to talk to you directly first, because I know you and I had discussed this a few months ago.
Get all logistics.
And I wanted him one-on-one with you first,
Right.
so that's why he
So
went to
this
you.
will have to be, just like we have with the village, a intermunicipal contract.
Written agreement, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That
We
you
wanna
guys
be
will have to
good
approve
neighbors
or
as we
not,
always are.
and go from there, but,
Yep.
I've talked to Craig and talked to Chris and, we're kind of on the same page here and everything else, we just have to iron out the.
Right, but there's a lot of
I want
small logistic
Them
things.
to know, and you guys to know that they're gonna be talking to you.
Right.
And bringing it to you probably.
We have an above ground tank, they're looking to put in a below ground tank. There's a
Right.
lot of little things here that need to be worked out between, Smart and you. But then when it gets right down to it, this is something that the board should feel comfortable that we're not on the hook
Right.
for their DEC permits, for their, ability to have a backup plan, et cetera, like we would have to do for our own. So it's a little more complicated
Right.
than.
Randy
handshake.
needs to work out the logistics and then present it to us.
Right.
We got it.
Right.
Correct.
when they know,
And
Randy
the
will
county
know.
does carry the permit for that truck,
Right, for all of us, yeah.
just so you know.
Anything else, Randy?
That's it.
Okay, Don, anything?
Randy's covered everything, buildings, board,
Good.
and trucks.
Okay, Neil?
In the way of highway and buildings, I'm all good.
Rochelle?
Kathy and I sat down last week and kind of figured out our ski budget, and we were able to offer 2 days of skiing to each kid participating in ski lessons for
Nice.
over break. Whether or not they take advantage of that, we'll see, but
Up to them.
that's up to them, so. And ski lessons, I think, are going pretty decent. I think Oak is doing okay with keeping their snow.
Good.
And
Super.
Yeah, considering the godsend snow, they've
yes,
done a great
they're
job.
doing okay. They've been able to stay open, whether it's all their drills or not, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt told me they would make it through the week.
That it?
Yep, so that's it for
That's
youth
it
rec
for you?
right now.
Kathy, you have anything?
No, I think we're gonna start communicating with people about summer soon.
Perfect. Good. Okay.
Short-term rental committee
Yeah.
will be bringing a proposal to, well, our recommendations to the town board at the March 6th meeting. If I could please be on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. You are.
The committee will be meeting March 1st, 4 o'clock at the town hall, to go over some ideas.
Okay.
So,
Good.
make a presentation next meeting.
Okay. Okay. So next is, okay, I'm looking for a motion to pay the bills. We'll do them together. There are 2 voucher reports. One is dated 2/16/23, which is just our regular bill pay, and the other one, which is our wire transfers dated on 2/17, which I just received this afternoon, so I
So moved.
apologize.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Okay, public comment. Shorty,
On that new tandem truck, okay, you mentioned a third axle. Right now, for about 42 years, the regular tandem has worked on a state route. I believe they bought that first tandem in about 81, so it's been about 42 years. It's always worked with a tandem. Why would you want to change something to a tri-axle, which would limit it to your main roads? If you loaded it up with a 18-foot box onto it, it would be overloaded for all your town roads, most of the bridges around and stuff like that. So to pay the extra money for a tri-axle just to save a couple gallons of gas, you gotta remember that the town of Lake Pleasant is a municipality. It's not a construction outfit where the more you can haul, the quicker you get it done, the more money you make in your pocket. It doesn't work that way. You pace yourself, work with what you got, and I think in the end, you're better off. Same way with a garbage truck, you get too big a garbage truck. Wells found out on some of their places when they went to their tandem, they can't turn the truck around there. They gotta back it up to a place where they, you just get too big for our community. So as far as even thinking about getting a tri-axle on a dump truck in the town of Lake Pleasant, I just think it's a waste of money, right?
It's good info.
A little bit of fuel you might save, a little bit of time you might save. The guys gotta work. In the summertime, they work 10 hours, whether they make one trip down to Prospect and back and bring back 25 ton or whatever. It just, in the end, I don't think you save anything by going
Good
to
point.
a bigger truck.
thank you, Shorty. Good point, yep, thank you. Okay, starting with,
Karen? Oh, she's
she's
not.
not here, don't confuse me. Okay, Don, anything for roundtable?
I'd just like to, our Facebook account, I was looking at that, noticing online when the power was out, I saw that it was reported by a few private citizens that when our power was supposed to be on, and I got looking at the town's Facebook page, and nothing had been put on it since December. So I am willing to take control of that, and
Well, if you want to fill in for Nancy while she's gone, she won't be back for another, I think, 2 weeks, and then she'll be back.
but, yeah,
And she's usually good about that.
yeah, I'll communicate, I don't know how to
Yeah.
communicate with Nancy, I don't know where she is. I don't have her
Just
cell phone.
email
No, but I
her,
mean,
just
we-
email her.
Okay.
You have her
So
email?
she would let you
Yeah.
know if she
Yeah.
was going away. So-
But
Yeah.
I just think we could make more use of that.
I also
with,
wouldn't mind doing
announcing-
that as website committee,
Okay,
helping her with that either way.
okay.
Just things like announcing, power's off,
Yep.
and it's supposed to be
Just so
on,
clear
Yep.
we're not, like to.
because people look at it.
Very good.
There's over, I think, 1,000 people that look at that are
Yeah,
subscribed to it.
more will look if it's well done.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it for
That
me.
was it for you? New York?
I do, I have a couple of items. The first being, Lake Pleasant Volunteer Fire Department did a great job this past Saturday. I hope they raised a lot of money, there was no numbers given, but again, great job on a pancake supper. Second item, this Thursday, a fundraiser, a meatball spaghetti dinner was had at the inn for our good friend Gerke's widow, Becky. Tremendous outpouring. This community never, ever, ever disappoints me when you think, well, they can't possibly on a quiet Thursday night. Scores of baskets and things for people to tricky tray, and just a tremendous, I believe, somewhere just under $6,000 was raised, which was my estimate. Myself and Johnny and Renee were kicking it around in the organization. 3,500 was the ceiling we were hoping to, so just great, great, great community. Third thing, the young lady Caitlin, who of course is outgoing from the chamber, but she has been over the last several weeks very active in trying to stir this pot having to do with the campsites. In fact, her uncle, close friend with Hugh Farley, Hugh Farley reached out to all the right people and really got some things moving. There's letters being sent to those people that he has buttonholed for us, along with, of course, the things that you've heard from the supervisor. So nice to see behind the scenes. Last but not least, I'll be calling tomorrow. It seems like it's a regular thing. The Welcome to Speculator sign is out again, and I'm hoping to speak with Roger and maybe get that corrected. That's it.
Okay. Rochelle?
I don't think I have anything to say.
Okay. Kathy?
Not right now.
Nothing on my table? Okay. Couple of things I have. I'm going to actually talk to the county to see if they could set up to have us run our bi-weekly bills through their postage meter. It would save us about 15 cents per bill. About 15 cents per bill. So I will keep you guys updated on that. 2022 sales tax collection totals reached a record collection of 5.3 million, just shy of 8% compared to 2021. So that's really good news. The snowmobile races on Lake Pleasant have been rescheduled for Saturday, March 5th. Jeanette contacted me last week to let me know that. Okay, and at the last meeting, I had reported that the BTI applicator had applied for unemployment. I had mentioned that possibly in the future of having applicators get paid by voucher, and then they would be considered and not a town employee, and they would get a 1099 at the end of the year. But if we did that, then the applicators would have to become a pesticide business with the proper insurance coverage. Then the town would also need to apply for a new Article 15 aquatic pesticide permit. And the town's pesticide agency registration would be revoked if we no longer employ a certified pesticide applicator. So at this
That's a
point,
no.
we will be keeping it the same. We will not be changing anything.
How ridiculous.
And then really good news today when I went to the county, Our consolidated health and our town AUD for 2022 are completed and have been submitted to the state.
There's no one in this
So
room
we're
other
done
than
for
Betsy
the
who knows
year.
what that means, but that's a
Means a
really
lot.
big pain in the ass.
Means a lot. And that's all I have. Our next meeting will be March 6th at 7 PM at the library, and I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Guess who will do that?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
What day did you say the races were?
March,
Saturday the
she said
Saturday the 4th.
You said fifth. You said fifth.
You said
Oh, I'm
fifth.
sorry. It's March 4th. I said 5th. I was supposed to be 4th.
March,
Thank you,
I
March
didn't want
4th.
that out there wrong.
Thank
February?
you.
Good man.
Good job. Okay, so I'm
They don't
looking for a
want
motion
give
to
up on it.
adjourn.
I will make the motion.
Don, second?
I'll second.
Okay. See everybody on the 6th, if not before.
Sixth or fifth? Sixth, yeah. Just a chuckle at it.
Yeah, you chuckle.
sorry, I shouldn't laugh at all of those ridiculous. I can't, the amount of time that it took for you to have to find out all of the nasty
Wells Church wants to donate.
BS that goes along with the BTS stuff, just because one